Hello, this is Dr. Kwevanwo, your fearless US-based immigration attorney. In this short video, I'm going to be going over the summaries of 21 types of employment-based visas to the United States of America. In one of my videos, I had mentioned that one of the major reasons people get denied for visas, particularly in countries like Nigeria or other African countries, is due to the ignorance of the types of visas that are available for them. Many people simply are not aware of the kind of visas that are out there, and they just assume it's only B1, B2 visas you can apply for, and they go in there and they get denied because they were applying for the wrong visas. Unfortunately, nobody's going to tell them at the embassy that the visa they've just applied for is the wrong one. So this short video, I'm going to go over quickly 21 types of employment-based visas. I'm not going to talk about the ones that don't give you employment. I'm going to be talking about 21 types of employment-based visas to the US, so that when you get them, at least you get the opportunity to work while in the US. So you're not out there trying to do menial jobs, even though you have the qualifications in the work. All right, let's get to it. We're going to start with the non-immigrant parts of that, because the non-immigrant is temporary visas that don't give you a permanent stay in the US. Probably gives you 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and some of them you can renew it all the way to like 7 years before you have to leave the country. Those are called non-immigrant employment-based visas. They allow you to work in the US, but they don't allow you to stay in the US permanently. They are time-barred, and those times are 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years maybe. All right, let's go. The first one, which probably won't apply to Nigerians, even though this video is directly mostly at Nigerians, but I want to mention it because I've seen lots of people from UK, Europe, and co watching my videos. So E3 Visa is for treaty traders and investors who come to the United States under a treaty of commerce between their country and the US, like the UK and many other countries. They have a list of countries that have signed a commerce treaty with the US, and you can come to the US with the visa called E-Visa. They have the E1, E2, and E3 that allows you to actually essentially come to that country and start your own business or start your own thing and be able to work in the US. But this does not apply to Nigeria because we do not have a commercial treaty with the US. Why? I don't know. You should ask your Minister of External Affairs, or better still, ask them in Asura. All right, the next visa is the H1B visa. This is a fairly popular visa for educated professionals who are going to work in what is called specialty occupations that require at least a bachelor's degree. What that simply means is that jobs that you need a minimum of university education to be able to do, most of them qualify under what they call specialty occupations. So you can have professions like even what I would call tech professions, law professions, practically any business, even research, even geography, whatever. Any job that requires a minimum of first degree to be able to hold that job, they qualify under H1B. They're called specialty occupations. But if the job is one that, even if somebody doesn't have a university degree can do it, then he won't qualify. So intrinsically, that job must be one that requires a minimum of a university degree to be able to hold it in the industry. All right, those are very big. They give it to you for 3 years, renewable for another 3 years, and you can even do a couple of 1 year extensions after that. They allow you to work in the US. They allow you to come with your family, even though your spouse or your children may not be able to work, but they allow you to be able to come. So be on the lookout for my book, USA Visa Without Tears. I actually broke down each of these visas for you to be able to see whether you qualify, right? Then there is the H2B visas. This is for employers to hire workers to come to the US on to perform non-agricultural related services on a temporary basis. In other words, the employer must be able to show that they have a temporary need for that staff. The keyword there is temporary. The need of that particular job to the employer must be temporary. The need for you must be temporary. and that you can also, it's another visa there, which I treated it in full in my book, a USA Visa Without Tears, that you can get at okwebanwo.net. That book treats all these visas in details, what it requires, and what you need to be able to get that visa. All right, and it's only $39 on Amazon. But if you are watching this from Nigeria, you can get it for only 10,000 naira at okwebanwo.net. That's also the site where you can book an appointment to speak with me one-on-one, or what I call one-on-one consultation. You can book that at okwebanwo.net and also be able to get my book, USA Visa Without Tears. All right, let's keep moving. Another non-immigrant worker visa is called I-Visa. This is for representatives of foreign media. In other words, members of the press, members of those who work in the radio, film, print industries, traveling temporarily to the US to work in their profession. So if you're a journalist and you want to go and cover an event in the US, the proper visa for you is the I-Visa. If you go and apply for B1, B2, most times they just deny you, and nobody's going to tell you that you are denied because you applied for the wrong visa. All right, that's the I-Visa for you. You can get details of that in my book. J visas is for exchange visitors, researchers, and trainees for educational or work-related or cultural programs designated by the Department of State, Bureau of Education or Cultural Affairs. These are basically for those who want to come on an exchange to the US. That they have certain programs that have been pre-approved by the Department of State, Bureau of Education, and any one of those that you're able to get yourself into allows you to come into the US with the J1 visa. Of course, there's also the K1 visa for fiancés and spouses of US citizens. This is strictly speaking not a work visa, but it does allow you to work when you come to the US with that. And I put that in here, even though it's not strictly employment based, because a lot of this is going on now. Even people that you have not met can become your fiancé. Lots of people are proposing to each other on the internet now. And maybe that person you have been chatting with for the last 1 year, 2 years, that you have been in love with, maybe they want to bring you to the US as a fiancé. That is the visa that you get for that. It does allow you to work. All right. L visa. This is one of my favorite visas. Actually, one of the visas I specialize in helping entrepreneurs or senior executives who would like to start a branch of their company abroad. It's called intra-company transferees. That is where a company abroad, like in a place like Nigeria, a company that is already existing for about 3 years is the requirement, wants to send one of his staff or even the owner to the US to start a branch of their company there. It is one of the best visas for those of you who are out there who have had your own business for at least 3 years. It doesn't have to be a very big company. It just needs to be structured. In other words, if you are to go to the US to start a branch of your company with the L visa, will your Nigerian company still survive? Will your foreign company still survive? That's all. So a lot of people who have been in business for years in Nigeria, they are not even aware of this visa. And it has unlimited quota. It allows you to take your wife and your children, and every one of them gets permission to work from day one. It's one of the best visas out there. And many people in Nigeria who have their own businesses or who are the management level or specialized, maybe you're a specialized professional, you're in the IT or you're in the product development in your company. Your company that you work for can send you abroad to start a branch of their company for them. Or if it is your own company, you can decide to send yourself, because you're in the managerial capacity in your company, to send yourself to go and start a branch of your company in the US. And it gives you yourself, your family, your wife, your spouse rather, even if you because it might be a woman. So your spouse and your children under 21, all of them are able to relocate with you, and they get permission to work from day one. Probably one of the best visas out there. But you can book an appointment with me at okwebanwo.net to explore this further. If you think this is something you might qualify for, and if you are thinking of jackpotting to the US, okay? All right, there is the O visa. This is for extraordinary athletes, entertainers, and artists. It basically requires you to show that you qualify in 3 out of 10 different criteria For instance, do you belong to clubs that require standing achievement from people to belong to that club? Have you won any award? Have you been a judge of the work of others? Do you make above average salary for your cadre? Stuff like that. You will be able to qualify in that, and it allows you to work. It also allows you to have dual intent. In other words, you don't have to prove that when you go there, you are not going to come back. That you are going to come back, like they used to deny most people visas. It allows dual intent. In other words, you can decide that you're going there, you're going to stay there. Nobody's going to be asking you to show that you have a residence in Nigeria that you do not intend to abandon, or in your country, or in India, or wherever you're coming from. So it's a great visa for the top level performers or business people, because this also includes business executives, those who have just what they call corporate founders. They have just founded a new company, and maybe you got some funding or some investors in that. That is a special visa for you, right? Then there's the P visa, also for athletes and entertainers who may not have the high level of achievement to qualify under the O visa. So the O visa is the top level business people, athletes, entertainers, and artists, while the P visa, the requirement is not as high as the O visa for athletes and entertainers. So whether you are you're a cameraman, you are a makeup artist, you are an athlete, you are an actor, actress, and all that, you're a comedian, this might be the visa for you. All right, let's keep moving because we want to keep this video short. And there's a Q visa. A Q visa is for international cultural exchange. So if you're in a cultural troupe, a cultural group, and you are doing an exchange with a cultural organization in the US, it is Q visa that you will be applying for. Again, if you are just watching this, I'm just sharing a brief summaries of some of the major visas out there, about 21 of them, that you probably qualify for and you are not even aware of them. And I put it in a book called USA Visa Without Tears, where I actually broke down each visa, what is required to qualify, so that before you talk to a lawyer, and even if you are going to do it yourself, you already know what is required to be able to qualify for that. You can get that book at okpebanwo.net, or you can book an appointment to have a one-on-one consultation with me. The appointment obviously is not free. It's only $100 or 70,000 naira if you are applying from Nigeria. And I'll be able to take 1 hour with you on Zoom just to talk about your specific case. All right. There's also the R visa. This is for religious workers. Religious workers, maybe you are not, and you don't have to be a pastor. You just have to have worked in a religious vocation for at least 1 year. So you can be, it's better if you're an ordained minister, not necessarily a full-time pastor, but the basic requirement is that you must have worked in a religious capacity for at least 1 year. And it covers every type of job description that you could do in your church. And this also covers non-profitable faith-based organizations. It doesn't have to just be church or mosque. It just has to be a religious organization. Very, very potent weapon. You can get it R1 visa with that. It's a temporary visa. It allows you to get to the US to work. And of course, it allows you to go with your spouse and your children. That is a big part of it. Then there's the S visa, which is called the snitch visa. This may not apply so much for those of us outside the country, but it is for those assisting US law enforcement to investigate and prosecute crimes and terrorist activities. So even if you're outside the country and you know there's a crime going on that affects the US and you want to get a snitch visa for that, you can contact them or get your lawyer to negotiate for you about how you have hey, don't get killed in the process while you're trying to snitch on somebody. All right. So it is for those who are helping law enforcement to prosecute crimes and terrorist activities. So just bear that in mind in case you're aware of some serious crimes going on and you want to use that one to get your step into the US. But of course, it has to affect the US. This is mostly for those who are in the US, but We've also had instances of those outside the US who are aware of crimes being committed by American companies or by Americans outside the country. And then when you have that information, your lawyer can help you do part of the negotiation with them that you want a snitch visa for that. It's called the S visa. Okay. Then there is the T visa. This is for victims of crime, like human trafficking, prostitution, servitude, death bondage, or slavery. So they give you that if you have been a victim of one of these things. In fact, for those of you who go abroad, I'm talking to my brothers and sisters who are very well to do, who have these omodos or these assistants that you take abroad, you have to be very careful because they are considered, they might go out there and say their father or their mother made them work for you to be your omodo. In America, that is considered involuntary servitude. It can even be called slavery. I know of a friend to a friend who actually served almost 9 years in jail for taking 2 omodos to the US, these houseboys and housegirls, and then they turned around and then they went and somebody told them that they can get a green card with that if they tell immigration that they were being held against their will, that they were brought from Nigeria to come and work 24/7. You know that houseboy and housegirl, they stay in your house. You can wake them up in the night to go do something for you. It's not like they're working 9 to 5. So they reported, and this lady made the mistake of trying to fight it, and then she ended up losing and spent, I think she was sentenced to 9 years in jail for bringing houseboys because they said it's a child trafficking or involuntary servitude. They just read all these charges against us, so be careful about that. So that there are a lot of those people that you help out of the country, they are using that to get green card now. They just tell immigration that, oh, they are paying my parents. It's not me they are paying. And now I'm working here. You go to jail. The person gets a green card. Be careful. All right. There is the U visa for victims of certain crimes who have suffered mental abuse and are helping law enforcement, just like the T visa. In this one, it is for those who have suffered mental or physical abuse, either from their guardian, their husband, their wife, and then they are helping immigration to actually, or law enforcement rather, to bring that person to book. But you can read more about that. You can find out more about it by buying that book, USA Immigration Without Tears. It's not a long story book. What I did was I identified each visa and then I broke down the specific requirements that you need to be able to get that visa. So that way you can do your due diligence. This is a summary of the visas available, and I have to do this in another 30 minutes. So I have to keep moving. All right, there's also the VAWA visa, abuse spouse petition. If your wife or husband is abusive, you can actually get a green card for that. Of course, this applies more to those who are already in the US. Your marriage has already been brought to the US, and a lot of women are using this to get green card now because the abuse doesn't even have to be physical. You can claim mental abuse. You can claim abuse, mental torture. Maybe he just call you Lori Bruku or calls you, abuse you. In America, that is mental abuse. Or say you are too fat or you are too thin or something's wrong with your family, all those kind of stuff. Hey, it's called spouse abuse. They're going to give your spouse a green card. The beauty of that, though, is that typically they won't even come and meet you because it's supposed to be confidential. So when your spouse files for this VAWA entitlement, most times they don't even contact you as the spouse. It's supposed to keep the woman or the man safe from that the person abusing them. So they don't even let you know the person has filed that. So it's a potent weapon in the hand of some lawyers. So where the spouse files that and gets his or her green card just because she filed and has some story to tell. And even the person they're complaining about is not even contacted to deny or accept what has been said. Enough said on that. All right, those are the non-immigrant visa categories that I wanted you to be aware of in case you don't know about them. But you can go research them more either by getting my book or you can just Google them. There is nothing I'm telling you right now that I even said in my book that you cannot find online just by Googling. But it's better for you if you get the book in one place and then you can go over it and do a checklist even before you book your appointment. All right, now let's talk about the employment-based immigrant visas to the US. What I just spoken about are non-immigrant and non-immigrant-based visas. In other words, you are not when you get those, it doesn't give you green card, it doesn't give you permanent residency, it doesn't give you citizenship. It just allows you to go to the US, to be able to travel back and forth from US, to work there, and to be able to make money there. These ones that I'm about to talk about actually allows you to get a green card in the US. Once it's approved, you can apply for the green card and you get to stay in the US permanently. So they are called permanent employment-based visas. So the first one is the EB1 visa, employment-based category 1, EB1 visa. This is for extraordinary ability or outstanding professor or researcher or a multinational executive or manager. And the outstanding itself is basically you have to show 3 out of 10 different criteria to be able to qualify yourself as an outstanding, as an alien of extraordinary ability. Okay, for the outstanding professor, they only need to show 2 out of their own 8 criteria. That's very easy. So all those professors in the universities who have been suffering from ASU, maybe you need to look at how you can jackpot with the outstanding professor EB1, because this gives you green card. It gives you, your wife, your children under 21, everybody. Once that is approved, you can apply for green card. So it's a major visa. Actually, probably the best one of all the employment-based visas out there. And so, but to qualify, you need to show, like for the professors, it's very easy. Their own category, they give you 8 criteria, and you only need to show 2 or 3, and most of them can basically get that. Or for the extraordinary ability alien, they give you 10 criteria, and you just have to qualify for 3, and then, of course, also show that you are intending to work in that profession when you get to the US. And the beauty of it is that you don't need an employer, which is what has been holding a lot of people back. You can self-petition. You don't need a job. You don't need an employer to file for you. You can self-petition under the EB1 visa. And those 10 criteria, they're in that book, Employment USA Visa Without Tears. You can just check it out and be sure that you have at least 3 of the criteria. And it's like something like, have you won national awards? Have you been a judge of the work of others? Have you written articles that have been published in journals in your profession? Or have articles been written about you in the newspaper or journals? Do you earn a salary above average salary in your profession? Things like that. So there's about 10 of them that you just need to have 3 that you qualify for. That is EB1. Okay. EB2 is for advanced degree professionals or outstanding aliens, as they say. I don't know why they even use the word alien. I mean, alien is supposed to be those guys living on Mars, but they decided to call us aliens. I still don't understand why they use that word. Yeah. So EB2 is for advanced. Basically, for this, there are 2 criteria. The first criteria is educational qualification. If you have a master's degree and up, you meet that test. If you don't have a master's degree, but you have a university degree plus 5 years experience, 4 plus 5 years is considered advanced. You can qualify under EB2. Or if you don't have degree and 5 years, if you can show that you have been working in that your profession for at least 10 years, plus some education involved, maybe a certificate or diploma and 10 years of experience, you qualify for that first part. But if you have a master's, this is a very popular visa for those who have master's degree because they don't have to talk story. So that first, then the second part, which is you have to show that unless, of course, you have an employment or you have an employer filing for you. If you don't have that, you can do what they call national interest waiver. Basically, you're going to be showing them that giving me this green card, okay, is in the national interest of America. Your lawyer will be able to help you make that argument. It's not as complicated as it just sounded. All right, you might be asking yourself, what national interest am I going to give to America? No, it's not like that. Your lawyer can make your case for you. So if you have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree plus 5 years, or you have been in your profession for more than 10 years, you can apply for this EB2 with the national interest waiver. If you are doing the national interest waiver one, which is the one we do, you don't need employer, you don't need to do labor certification, which is basically, typically they will ask you to show that there are no Americans willing and able to do the job. But if you are applying for national interest waiver, you don't need all of that. You just need to show that you have advanced degree, master's, or bachelor's plus 5 years, or you have been in your business for more than 10 years. That plus demonstrate that giving you a green card is in the national interest of America. You don't need an employer, you don't need a job. That is why this is very powerful. You can self-petition. In other words, you can be your own employer for this. It's a great visa. EB3, oh, I'm running out of time here. EB3 visa is for skilled and unskilled workers who have received an offer of employment from a US-based sponsor. I don't talk much about EB3, but most people qualify for this one who cannot qualify for EB1 and EB2. But the problem here is that you have to get an employer in the US first. And that employer also have to do what they call labor certification. Basically, they have to show that there are no Americans who are willing and able to do the job so that they can get an opportunity to come and hire you. Sometimes that is difficult for those who are in Nigeria to get. You have to get an employer to hire you, and that employer has to go through what is called labor certification just to come and hire you from Nigeria. Unless they know you well or what you are doing is really good, it's hard. But the jobs that are qualified for EB3 include restaurant workers, servers, cooks, prep cook, runner. In other words, many of them are jobs that don't require major qualifications. But the challenge of the EB3, like I said, is that you have to show, you have to have an employer filing for you, which you don't need in EB1 and EB2. You also have to do labor certification, that there are no Americans willing and able to do the job. You don't need that in EB1 and EB2. See the difference? That's EB3 for you. EB4 is for special workers, like especially religious workers. This is permanent now, as opposed to the R1 we discussed before. So if you're a pastor, you are working in a religious capacity. If you've been working in a religious capacity for more than 1 or 2 years, you can actually apply for permanent green card in the US. Of course, this also requires you to have a church or an organization in the US that is sponsoring you, and that is not very hard for a lot of pastors or people in the ministerial category, because you probably will always have somebody abroad or a church abroad that can file for you. So this one is permanent access to the US. It allows you, your spouse, your children under 21, all of them to go and they get green card under this one. This is very popular for pastors or ministers of the world. Okay, and then EB5, that is for entrepreneurs and investors who are investing. It used to be $500,000 to $1 million, and then it raised to 800,000 to 1 million in the US economy. Now, this investment is you investing either by yourself, investing that money to do your own business, or investing in an approved program so that you don't even have to do anything. You just invest the money, and then after 5 years or so, they give you your money back. So the money is not permanently in the US economy. But once you do the EB5 and invest the money, yourself, your spouse, and all your children under 21 also, they get a green card. They're allowed to work in the US permanently, even while you're waiting for your money to come back. So this is the investor's visa. Even someone like Trump, that many of you think don't like immigrants, he loves these EB5 people. Most of his hotels were financed by EB5 money, because people come up with projects that the government approves, and then you can then you can invest your money in those projects without having to take any part in it. Then they process your green card, and then at the end of 5 years, or at the end of the project turnaround, which is normally between 3 to 5 years, then they get you your money back. The only downside is that they don't pay you any reasonable interest. They just chance you, just use your money, and then give it back to you, maybe with 1 or 2 or 3% interest a year for 5 years. Of course, you also have the option of investing the money yourself in your own business that you are running, and you keep all your money and all your profit. Okay, you can talk about that when you come to our one-on-one consultancy. Feel free to book an appointment at okpebanwo.net to talk to me about your own specific need or any of these visas that you may qualify for. Finally, I want to talk about the Schedule A business professionals. Schedule A professionals are professionals that the Department of Labor has already predetermined as a shortage in America, so you don't have to prove, you don't have to do labor certification anymore. They've already decided that we are short in America of this, and then if you're in that, you can actually be able to apply for permanent employment, permanent immigration visas based on that. In other words, you get a green card for that, but you, of course, you do need an employer on this one. You just don't need to show there are no Americans available. That's already a given. So physical therapists, professional nurses, scientists with exceptional ability, artists of exceptional ability, and performing artists, they are the ones that qualify in this Schedule A professional category. It changes from time to time. They determine which professions are short, and then they put it in there. And if your profession is there, then most of the work is done for you. That's it. My time is just about running out, and I think I got it down to 30 minutes. That is fantastic. All right. So you can buy the book, USA Immigration Without Tears, at okwebanwo.net. In that book, I broke down these 21 visas to specifics, what you need to qualify yourself. It's probably the absolute best help you can do for yourself. Get the book and go over it so that you know the visas that you think you can qualify for based on what they are requiring. And then you can book an appointment with me for an exclusive one-on-one discussion about your situation at okwebanwo.net. So go now to okwebanwo.net, book the appointment. I think I have 3 appointments available a day over the next 2 weeks or so. So you want to go book your own before those spots are all taken. And I will see you on another episode of Immigration to USA, Canada, UK, and Australia. Again, this is Dr. Okwebanwo, your fearless immigration attorney. And I will see you on the next call. Be sure to like my channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, you want to follow that channel, you want to like it. So you want to subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.